I am Rosie Beachy. I'm here to talk about marketing. I'm one of what, 5 presenters today because I am not the only marketing expert in the room, as we have found from talking to each other. We all have different expertise and different experiences in marketing, and so I welcome you to. I've built in some breaks where if you guys have comments or some tips for your fellow uh, attendees, then you're welcome to do that. Um, so the agenda is to talk first about your marketing strategy and plan, because this is, some things never change. There's lots of new marketing tools. AI is a new marketing tool, but some of the basics don't change. You have to have a marketing strategy and a marketing plan. One of the business planning tools that we use at SBDC is called Growth Wheel. And some of the forms that you're going to see in the presentation, and I've got one handout, come from that business planning platform. Marketing is a big part of it because it drives a lot of the other activities in the business. But if you're interested in Growth Wheel, I can give you access to it. We would meet and talk about, what are the different items that you feel are really important to beef up in your business. And then you can use Growth Wheel on your own as well. I wanted to also, emphasize that your marketing strategy really is informed by understanding your customer. Understanding who your customer is and where they live, supposedly, or as we call it, will drive where you're going to market for that to gain market share from those customers. This is normally a slide that you would see at the end of a presentation. I put it at the beginning because sometimes people will feel really overwhelmed when you talk about all these pieces of marketing and just thinking about, all the things you need to do to communicate with your customers. So I put some of the resources that I use up here on the screen. The Virginia SBDC site has training available, either live, webinars, or they have, I think that you had already been on the Virginia SBDC site and probably saw some of the things that you can pull off on demand. But we do a lot of training in different subject matter. It's not just marketing. One site that I have found recently that I really like is this Verizon Small Business Digital Ready training. They also do webinars and have canned programs of learning sessions. So they've got like series of learning that you can do on that site. They also do a small business grant that you would need to apply for. And it's not guaranteed that you would get the grant, but that is one thing that you could check into if you're interested about financing. SCORE is a organization that's very similar to SBDC. One of the differences is our office focuses on business. SCORE will work with nonprofits. So if you're interested in, using their services, they will assign a long-term mentor to you and your business. They also do these monthly. They'll have new webinars and they always record them. I sign up for them. If I am not available at the time, they always send you the recording of it. So
I did that today.
in preparation for this presentation, I don't know if I did any SCORE webinars that I had saved, but I definitely did some Verizon. And then 2 other resources. I didn't put the internet link to them, but your economic development departments, don't forget to use them as a source of information for what's going on in the county and what's going on in the town. I met with someone a couple of weeks ago that they said, hey, I have this great business idea. And from talking with the town economic development, I knew there were several people with this brand new idea that they wanted to launch in the town. So it's good to find out what's going on. You may be selling into, maybe they're gonna cut down a bunch of trees in the town, and you have that service available to them. You would want to know that that's coming up and you want to bid on it. So I encourage you to talk with Winona. And then there are two people that are located here, Tori Buell and Paige Reed, who cover the town of Culpeper. So they're great resources, and they pay for my services. So I love them. um, through our office our office, the Central Virginia office, is located down in Charlottesville. I'm the general business advisor for 8 counties in Central Virginia. We have an additional 25 SBDC offices around Virginia. We have almost 1,000 in the United States. I can pull from, so the general staff is at the top here. All of the faces you see below the four of us are people who have expertise and specialties that you can tap into. We have a banker, we have 2 food people, we have a grant person, we have a website person, we have social media and marketing experts. So if I will pull these people in to meet with my clients frequently, because there may be some special, you know, added thing that they can bring to you. In addition to this, we have about 200 advisors in Virginia, and they have different expertise as well. So, for example, I have tapped into one of our advisors who has a background in childcare. I have another one that has home health care expertise. So we've got a lot of experience that you can tap into for free. So just a reminder, we're going to talk about marketing, planning, and strategy. That ties into your business plan. So if you don't have a business plan, it doesn't have to be a big, complicated business plan, but you do want to know, where your business is going. That doesn't just involve marketing. It involves all of these, who's your competition, who's doing your operations and that kind of thing. So you want to make sure marketing ties in with your entire business strategy. We talk about marketing strategy and talk about marketing planning. And I'm gonna stand up so I can look at this. And they're both important. You need both. So the strategy really drives, who you are, what your brand is, what niche or industry you serve, and who your main competitors are. So it's really the framework of your marketing efforts. Your plan is, how are you going to implement this strategy? So what are the action items that you're going to take to achieve the strategy or the goals that you have? What's the timeline for it? Your planning is more, tends to be more within 12 months. Your strategy is maybe a 1 to 3 year look at where you want the business to go. So you're always looking at, where do I want to be down the road and how am I going to get there? And when you think long term, it can be kind of scary. Like, let's say you have a goal of being, right now you're $100,000 company, and you want to be 500,000 in 3 years. That can be pretty scary. But if you break it down more finitely about, what are the steps to build my customer base and build out the capabilities of our company to achieve that that can be more manageable. So the plan is less scary, I would say. And you need both. So you want to make sure that you've got a strategy in place, and then how are you going to implement this over the next couple of months? I found this graphic. There's a site called Practice Builders, and they had this nice flow chart of your basic marketing strategy and plan. And I'm going to go through each of the steps in different, you'll go to different marketing presentations and they'll present this information in different ways, but this is still the basic building blocks of how do you get to a strategy and plan. So the first one is conducting market research and industry research. There is a AI site that is, it can answer some queries that you have on a specific marketplace, but I would argue that nothing really replaces the in-person marketing that you do. or research that you do. You have to test your product. I can't tell you how many food people I've talked to who I've said, what do people think about what you make? And they say, well, my mom likes it. So I'm buying this food truck. And it's like, well, let's reel it back in. You know, you really have to make sure that you have an audience for what you want to produce. Again, in food, do you need a license or special training? If you go to, there's a department of professional and occupational registration with the Virginia, with Virginia. So there's a whole list of occupations that you need a license for. For example, if you're a professional wrestler, you have to have a license, right? Through DPOR. So again, SBDC can help identify for you, are you serving food? You need a Serve Safe certification to serve food. You cannot just open a tent and serve food to people. We don't want you to get in trouble. We want you to, you know, make sure you know what you need to do this business and build that into your business plan. Identify who your target market is. I just had a conversation with my daughter who wants to start selling nails. She's got, you know, she does some beautiful nail work. We had this discussion about who is your customer, and she said, well, I want to sell to everybody. I think men should be able to wear nails. And I said, that is not your target market. Who's the key person that's buying nails, right? So usually younger women, usually 18 to 40, probably. You know, where do they live? There's a huge market for nails internationally. So is there a big market in Virginia, or do you need to advertise outside of Virginia to really build a strong customer base? And that drives, how do you connect with them? You know, if your market is in person and very local, you know, you may think about, maybe I don't need to be on social media. I'm going to argue later that you need to have some kind of online presence. But, you know, if something is very, like if you're selling to the Amish, maybe you don't need to be online, right? Because they're not online. So how do you connect with the market? You know, what is the value that you are, or what's the need that you're supplying for them, right? And how do they buy? You know, are they frequent buyers? Are they periodic buyers when they have a need? So there's all different types of frequency of purchase, and you need to plan for the frequency of that purchase, and that also relates to how you price your product. Market segmentation, this is included in identifying your target market. So you can build a profile based on where they're located, their geographics, their demographics, their psychographics, and their behavior. And this helps you tailor your marketing program to that specific customer group. Here's our first growth wheel checklist here. But describing your product and service, being able to very quickly tell someone what are the features and benefits of what you're supplying to the marketplace. This is a sheet that helps you kind of work through those, you know, the different features, the different benefits, and what's the value of that for a customer. So this is you know, being able to describe your product or service is really important, and this is a sheet through Growth Wheel that can help you identify that. Describing your competition. You may say, I don't have any competition. Well, there is competition. There can be like products that compete with you. I always think that there's competition for $1. You know, people are going to spend money on different things. At certain times, they may be spending that money just on basic necessities. And at other times, they've got, you know, surplus money where they can buy other things that are not basic necessities. So, but for you, you wanna, for example, you want, who else is cutting trees? Who else is providing this service? And you can plot on here, what's their flexibility, what's their experience. So on the experience chart, you're very strong. And the checklist for you might include licensing and, do they do bonding anymore?
Um, I'll check into bonding. I haven't.
Or, do they have insurance? So there might be some things of, where you're clearly outperforming your competitors, but you want an understanding of where they are. And I tend to not downgrade my competition. I leave it to the customer to discover that on their own. But I am clearly outlining what the advantages of using my service or product is. It's right there.
Oh, okay.
So this can be helpful in just kind of setting in your mind, how do we compare to the competition? And this map can also help you on a pricing standpoint to justify why you're asking in these, plotting out these different things. Like if we're there within 24 hours and other people say, I will get to it in 2 weeks, that's definitely a competitive advantage.
And so our biggest thing is that workman's comp.
Well, that's a base cost issue. So, writing your mission statement is part of this marketing strategy. So you want to, be very clear. And this mission is really important to share with other people in the company to make sure that everybody is on the same page and understands this is what our customer looks like. So if you've got somebody that is, you've got higher costs and you've got a customer that is price shopping different organizations, then maybe you move away from that potential customer. You definitely, like you were saying, you don't want to reduce your price to where you're not making a profit on that job. So this can be helpful in just, really zeroing in on who's the target customer, what's the value for that customer, and why does it matter? Finalizing your marketing strategies is, it will vary based on who you're selling to. So, if you have to think about the different avenues of where you're going to present yourself to the customers. And like I said, even if you are 100% in person, you have to think about your online presence. So lots of different avenues to reach different customer bases. Your marketing message, this somewhat ties into your branding, but making sure that you use a consistent message, high quality, whatever it is, and imaging across all of the channels that you're communicating through is really important to build that brand recognition. These are just kind of an overview of the brand strategy, your messaging strategy, and then your campaign. So you have an overall brand strategy. They're going to get these slides. They'll be able to view the slides, so you don't need to worry about copying all this information down. But it shows, it kind of cascades down from brand to your positioning and message strategy, and then your campaign specific. For example, if you're doing a Facebook campaign, you want to make sure that it ties into the overarching brand strategy that you have set up. You don't want to start, using a new logo or a new campaign slogan that doesn't really fit with your brand strategy. Plan a marketing budget. Some people that I talk to are, they're faced with some cost cutting that they have to do, and they say, well, I'm just gonna cut the marketing. I really discourage doing that because that's what's gonna rebuild your sales, if you're looking to build sales. So, make sure that in your business plan for the year that you're building in marketing as a cost, uh, you want to make sure that you're assessing that, what you're spending on marketing to make sure that, you're not going to be able to tell 100% what was effective all the time. But, if you're spending lots and lots of money on social media and you're not seeing a return, you're not seeing a lot of customers come to you through social media, I would start thinking about where else can I spend that money where it's got a bigger effect and it's bringing in more customers. I would set a budget and stick to it. I'm terrible at doing that, but that's what we recommend. And then the test and learn, measure, like if you're sending postcards to people, if you're doing direct mail, make sure there's some mechanism that tells you how that customer is coming back to you. That they actually came through your direct mail efforts or radio efforts or something like that. People use different phone numbers. They did use codes on things. So just there are different ways that you can measure the effectiveness of different methods. Establish quantifiable goals, and there's some here at the bottom listed. So, depending on what methods you're using, it might be social media engagement. So we don't generally, like, likes don't really tell you anything. It's how engaged are the people that are coming to your social media sites. So just some realistic, like if you're just starting out, the goals should be pretty small. If you've got a brand that's taking off, maybe the goals are much larger. But here are some manageable goals for a small business that are just starting off. And then monitoring results. This kind of looks like maybe an accounting tool, but you do want to keep track of, how much are you spending, how many people are getting engaged, how many people are buying, and just keep track of it and see what is effective. Once you start tracking things, it's really surprising because you may have a feeling that something's working, and then you go to the actual data and find out that it's not as effective as you thought it was. And then something else is more effective than, but some people do have good feelings about things and they are accurate on it. So, but I highly recommend having some kind of tool to track. This is another growth wheel marketing mix worksheet. I really like this sheet because when I talk to people about marketing, we tend to forget about different segments. And this really calls out all of the different segments of what you can use in a marketing plan. So for example, under publications, you could write a book, you could write an article, you could do a newsletter, you could get into a magazine, and you can make reports. What was the flower growing season like in Culpeper County in 2025? That could be a little report through, I don't know, the extension service or something like that. But, so I like this as kind of did I check all the boxes on the different types of marketing tools I want to use this year? And then just one more note on just your general marketing plan and strategy is to develop an elevator pitch. The key to the elevator pitch is that the person you're talking to wants to hear more about your business. I will ask people to tell me their elevator pitch, and 5 minutes later, I've gotten a rundown on their history, and I don't need I don't need to ask them any more questions, right? It shouldn't, the elevator pitch should not be 5 minutes. There's no elevator ride that's 5 minutes long. So, within 30 seconds, who are you? And why would I buy from you? What's special about your company? So that's an elevator pitch. There's lots of pitches in marketing, but that's, anyway, elevator pitch is important. Any questions, thoughts, input from you?
One of the hardest part is getting the board, because when you work for a nonprofit, it has to have a board of directors. It's getting them on board with the idea of spending more money on marketing. And I don't know how to, because I'm not in the meeting for them, my director is. We were trying to push for more money, but it's kind of hard when they keep pushing back.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, we have to, first you need money for like the testing phases, because you can't just spend all the money in one place. But if they require results as soon as they give you the money, I'm like, I don't have enough space and enough money to move around.
Are you able to give them, so it's a presentation, it's a sales presentation to the board?
I can ask my director if maybe I'm allowed to do that, but I can tell her to give a
Right.
self-presentation about.
Well, and it's justifying the money spent, so
Yeah.
it's a cost equation. Yeah, if you invest this amount of money, here's what we expect to happen.
Yeah.
If it's an increase in clients or increase in effectivity
Yeah.
of programs or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's here's your investment, here's what you're gonna get back, here's what we expect you to get back from it. And that, I'm not sure how you're presenting the data right now or the information.
Yeah, that's the part. It's like, because we've been open for 3 years, and we haven't had like a solid system in place to actually report out marketing and do all of that stuff. But I think it's one of those situations where now that I'm on board, because they don't have previous data, it's kind of like, I'm like, well, you guys never had a marketing person. So
Right.
I'm new, we're all new. I'm also kind of scared because I'm like, okay, what if I do present this data? I'm like, well, this is what you expect to happen, but then I don't match up to it, right? And that's my fear. It's like, what if I don't live up to the promise of actually getting the results that I promised?
It's not that you are not living up to it, because you're putting out the effort. So here's what happens sometimes with organizations that are nonprofits like ours. We drive to a standard or a goal, and we are short of the goal. But there might be the pandemic happened, or we had major snowstorms, so we didn't present to as many people on that day. But here's some other ways that we met with them, or so you're demonstrating, maybe we were short of the goal, but it wasn't for lack of trying on our part. And just making sure that it's communicated in a really kind of business manner, not an emotional manner, and that they understand that. And then the next year you're asking for more money.
Yeah.
Because, you still want to grow the program, and here's what's needed to grow the program. So, and board members often have their own set of goals that they want for the organization.
Yeah.
So finding out what those are will really help you to present to them. What's important to them, and it's driving the organization forward. So if that helps. Any other questions? And here's my infomercial on the Culpeper County Conference. So that's the registration. If you want to take a picture of it, you can, but it's on the Be at Culpeper locals.
Is this only for businesses and not?
No, you won't.
Okay, I just wanted, because I don't know where, I don't know what I was.
Businesses, entrepreneurs, anybody who'd like to attend.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
All right, so now we're going to move on to marketing tools. Did we have some general tools? Anybody heard of Canva?
Yes. I use it for everything.
Okay, so do I. And actually I have one of my pieces in here, and I'll tell you, you think, anyway, all right. Anyway, I'll have an egg on my piece, and you'll say, oh, she's not that great, but anyway, that's okay. So Canva is an online graphic design site. It's free. that's a little caveat. So you can, it used to be you could do 5 designs for free. But what I would do is go in and change one of my 5 designs in that and just keep changing the 5 designs. You can, but if you pay for it, there's a lot more design capability within the system that you can use. For example, I think you have to have a paid subscription to do the background remover.
Yeah.
And
And
there's different like elements.
yes, yes. So I do encourage a paid version for
But
Canva.
it's so much easier because the images and graphics, you can't use them to you.
Yes.
Sorry.
It
And you're
takes a
really
minute.
good looking.
You gotta.
It takes a minute to figure it out, but once you figure it out, you're good.
Yeah.
And so what I do, I'm not very talented with graphics. I take one of the already made templates and I adjust it for what I want to do. And then I have my SBDC advisor critique it and she fixes it.
That's what I'm doing too. I give to her like that.
The other one is Grammarly. And it is a general tool for correcting the grammar. Lots of people use it. It's a good, proofing tool. So offline marketing. Let's not forget about offline marketing, which means it's not really online. You have print options, TV and radio. I would encourage you, we were talking about a press release, so that press release should also go to TV and radio stations. If they have a day that there's not a lot of news going on, wouldn't they love to interview a new to them, small business that's in the area? Outdoor, I have some experience with billboards. I don't think, are there billboards in Culpeper?
Along 29.
Okay, so the standard, the old fashioned outdoor advertising is really, really expensive. Really expensive. But the digital ads, you can get a spot on a digital billboard for much less money. Sponsorships, sponsoring a little league team, having your logo on the fence, that if your market is there, if your customer is there, that can be an effective tool for advertising, for marketing. Printed material, there's all kinds of printed material, bumper stickers, there's calendars. There's lots of places locally that you can go. I encourage you to, work with a local printer because sometimes they're less expensive than Vista printer someplace online that you're looking for. I still, we still have our SBDC trifold, but we've also now got a little postcard that Winona's got out on the table. And we find that both of those are effective depending on where you are. It's like if you're at a booth, the postcard's great. Local and industry promotion and PR is, Culpeper Fest to get your name into the local market. I think it's a good tool, depending on what you're promoting or selling, right? And there's industry, there's trade associations and things like that. That can also be useful for networking and getting your name if you're in a broader area, in particular. So, and you never sit down in the booth. Networking, if you're gonna do government contracting, you have to network. That's the way that they buy. Yes, you do bid on things, but for them, it's especially on the federal level, you want to go to their get-together nights that they have, meet the people that are doing the buying for the different departments, and that way, and hand your business card out. The business card is blank on the back side. So mine's not a government contracting business card because they're gonna write down particular information about your firm on the back of the business card, so they remember who you are, because they're gonna meet lots of people that
So
night.
you have like 2 different types of.
If you're gonna government contract, you could. Yeah, otherwise I use all the surface space of a business card.
Yeah. Actually, we have a little mission statement on the back.
Yes.
It's not the business contract, but okay.
Or now I suggest to people put a QR code that takes them to your website or to your, if you don't have a website, Facebook page. Direct mail marketing, people tend to think that this is more like a baby boomer thing, you know, who's going out to get the mail, grandma and grandpa and me. But millennials actually like to get mail. They like to, I mean, they don't get a lot of mail. So like my daughter is always waiting. She's, do I get anything in the mail today? So then she comes and picks her mail up and I get to see her. So direct mail is still an effective tool, especially if you are geographically centralized. You know, if you are looking for a group of people that could have a need, I think for you, direct mail would be a great way to go. There is a program through the United States Postal Service called Every Door Direct Mail. I had in a previous job a client that used that, and it was great for her. The Val Pack, you know, I saw mail stuffers, and that's not Val Pack on this slide, but I'm just thinking we still get Val Pack at our house. And there's lots of like asphalt and tree trimming, tree cutting, ads in there that I put them on my bulletin board and save them just in case we need them. But there is an expiration date on 'em. You will definitely want to put an expiration date on that. Vistaprint or Canva, you can design and print directly from those sites. So Vistaprint will do a mailing for you as well. And you upload your mailing list that you want to send. But that's what the USPS does for you as well. So they're mailing to the specific zip code area for you. On QR codes. So I saw this, I was at a drive-through one day. I like this Jennifer Lewis's Scentsy QR code. Because she's kind of dressed it up and made it fun and more attention getting. So QR codes, they came out, people they fell out of favor and now they're back in a big way. Everybody's using QR. I believe that, you know, even if you're in person, you gotta be online because people use that information in different ways. So here are the statistics, the latest ones I could find. These are international statistics as far as monthly users. You have YouTube, LinkedIn, or LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. And those are the demographics. So you've got the age and what they're, you know, the content that you can post on there and who, you know, what they're best for. You know, for most products and services, it's Facebook and Instagram generally. If you're doing business to business, so I put, this is kind of a different chart that tells the same thing, but it also had Pinterest on it. But if you're business to business, you definitely want to be on LinkedIn. You know, if you're strictly business to business, maybe it is Facebook and LinkedIn, and that's it. But if you are, you know, if you like for your flowers, you would want to be on Pinterest. You want to show people what the bouquet looks like or what the, you know, the growing of the flower. I mean, there's, you know, it's very visual, as is Instagram. So those are going to be important sites for you to be a part of. It does have, there's 431 million users on Pinterest. So we kind of think of it as, oh yeah, Pinterest was great 10 years ago, but there's still a lot of people that are using that site, and they're using it for purchase inspiration, right? So I would recommend keeping that on your radar. For social media, you do have to be interactive. For example, if you're going to be at a show, a craft show, you want to link with the organization that is putting the craft show on. If you're doing service work at a business, you might want to use a hashtag with that business name in it. But you do want to be consistent. So, you know, the what I've read and watched lately is saying they do want you to be on there daily. I think that's a lot to ask a small business. I think twice a week, as long as you have good content. And that was a recurring theme in the webinars that I watched is, you don't want to just post for the sake of posting. You want to post that's meaningful, and that people get some kind of value out of. So using hashtags is still a thing. You still want to use hashtags, and tagging other businesses if you can. Just that consistency and relevancy of what you're putting online is really important. So, if you have, I think this is on the next slide. No, you can, I would recommend putting together a calendar of, and it can include other things besides social media if you've got other things going on, like email newsletter and things like that. But for social media content, sometimes we're struggling for what am I going to put on there that's going to mean something to people. So the 4 content pillars, you'll hear that as kind of a recurring theme. Can you post something that's educational for people? Like what types of flowers grow in Culpeper area best? Inspirational, is there a visual that you can post? Something that's interactive, like a survey or asking for a response, and then promotional. We're having a sale this month. Here's the deadline, and that kind of thing. The other suggestion that came through consistently was to mix it up. So a lot of people are using the videos and reels. On some of the platforms, the reels will disappear after 24 hours. And so then you have nothing on your site. So you want to mix it up between the static posts and reels or videos. And that keeps your content fresh and new for people as well. And then recycling content. So if you are consistently having, let's say, a Labor Day sale or let's say you're doing a customer mixer, September 10th of every year, you do a customer mixer. If you've got some really nice posts that you used the year before for that particular event or whatever it is you're promoting, use it again. Just update the text that you have with it and use the same pictures. I mean, if they're nice pictures. So you're not trying to reinvent the wheel every time. For business accounts, so if you do not have a business account for your social media, you do want to get one. Keep it separate from your personal account. And for Instagram, you can actually just have a business account without having a personal account on there. But for Facebook and LinkedIn, you have to have a personal account first, and then your business account actually comes underneath that. On the table is a social media decision sheet from Growth Wheel. And this is where you're kind of deciding, now where do I need to be on social media? And there's lots of empty space there to fill in, like if you want to put Pinterest or you want to put TikTok. I will say if you're doing government contracting, they are not on TikTok. At least they weren't as of yesterday, but and then decide who's your primary target group and what is the message that you want them to get. Are you just building awareness of who your business is? Are you trying to promote a particular product? And anyway, this is a nice, what are you going to publish? So it's more of a planning sheet by media, by social media. This is not the calendar that I was talking about. We do have a calendar that I can share with you. I don't think I put it in the presentation. But this can be a handy kind of, think through what are you posting, who are you targeting, and what's your expectation? So this builds into your realistic goals for social media. And here's your social media calendar. The first one shown is either in Asana or we use Trello at SBDC. The second one over here is a Excel spreadsheet. Both are fine. You know, anything to keep you on track. You can pull through Google. You can create a calendar if you want to get put it on a calendar. So whatever format works for you. I'm not promoting these, but I'm just showing you some examples of what they look like. Automate your social media. So if you're on just Instagram and Facebook, you can use through the Meta platform, you can schedule your posts. It will guide you through the reconfiguration of the post, depending on which platform you're on, you're gonna post it to. You can change the wording from Facebook to Instagram through the Meta platform. And then you can schedule it, so you can find out when is your target client typically online.
How do you find that out?
There is data online that you can look at. It varies depending on platform. Surprisingly, it tends to be in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day,
I do always.
when they're at work.
Yeah. If you have a Meta business, if you have a Facebook, and you look at Meta, they will recommend times where they think you should post.
Does it work?
I don't use it because I know my people are usually there like in the afternoon doing lunch break.
Okay,
Like a lot of older adults are probably at lunch, so I can do
that's
that.
pretty neat. I had no
But
idea
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, you can use the Meta recommendation and see if that.
And I do remember Instagram people they're not looking at things, they're posting things on the weekend. So that's another reason why during the week is good.
Okay.
They're at work and they're bored and
Yeah.
they're gonna look. But if you're on a couple of different platforms, you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook or whatever it is, these other platforms, Loomly, Hootsuite, Planoly, Sprout Social Buffer, you can schedule your the delivery of your content through these platforms. And so you've got automated publishing, the content management, so changing the look of the item that you're gonna publish. You can do customer segmentation through Loomly. That means you're gonna send two different things depending on, do you have a frequent buyer? Do you have a not frequent buyer, or maybe someone who hasn't bought yet? So you can tailor the message to the different audiences. You can do the same thing through email marketing. You can do A and B testing or customer segmentation. And then the reporting and analytics, as Priska was talking about, those will tell you, engagement rates and things like that, timing, etc. So just before you pay for something, these are paid for scheduling tools. Just make sure that they've got all the features that you're looking for. Websites. If you are just starting out, I wouldn't worry about the website right up front. However, if you've been in business for a while, you definitely want to have a website. There are different platforms. We have people that can talk you through what's the best site for what you're trying to do online, what you're selling, what services you're offering. If you hire a developer, make sure that you have editing capability. You don't want to leave it completely with the developer because it will cost you an arm and a leg to change anything once your website is up and running. You may think, I'm not selling anything through online. I don't really need a website. But people will verify that you're a legitimate business through your. When you have a website, you want to use the analytics to find out, what pages are people going to. We have a program called SEM Rush that we can run your website through to find out if there's any broken links. What are the best keywords? We can compare your website with a competitor's website to find out what keywords are they using that you should duplicate. Maybe you should put their name in your keyword search so that people who are searching for that firm come to your website. There's all kinds of, and I won't declare myself an expert in this. We have people that can walk you through all of that stuff, but I can pull an SEM rush report for you to show you. This is for free. Through SBDC, for an SBDC client.
Oh,
Google Analytics you'll get from your Google site. Yeah. Okay, email newsletters. Anybody doing email newsletters?
I want to.
So the biggest companies are Constant Contact and MailChimp. One of them, and I think it's still true, if your audience is less than a certain number, I think it's 500, one of them you can use for free,
it's MailChimp.
MailChimp. And it used to be 2,000, wasn't it?
I don't know. I just know that you can have up to 500
Yeah.
contacts on there for free.
Yeah.
But they don't let you do like the schedule. You have to post it like on your
Yeah.
stuff. Which is
Yeah. So yes, another, it's worth it to pay for it, but if it's free or paid for, there are templates that make it really easy to use. You can upload your mailing list from an Excel spreadsheet. There is built-in AI content creation in it. And you definitely want to be consistent, just like with social media posting. If you're gonna do a monthly newsletter, do it monthly. So, all right, AI. Anybody used AI?
I don't like it.
I'll tell you what, you've used it. If you searched on Google, you've
yeah,
used it.
who has the same?
Anyway, I know we're running long. These are some, we did a little AI class at SBDC, and these are some tools. And different uses of these tools online, so I would take that with you, just excuse my note on there. But some of them are free and some of them you have to pay for. One thing that I will say, so the best use for me of AI is in marketing. If you're stuck with what kind of content to produce for, it's a good start. Okay. There are different platforms that, this is not the end of the platforms that will appear. All have paid and free versions. From what I've heard lately, I wouldn't put anything that's confidential to your company on AI. I've heard some people say, oh, if you pay for it, it's secure. I just would not, at this point in time, recommend putting any kind of financial data for your company on AI. However, but you can put, I'm gonna skip over this. You can train AI. So you're in ChatGPT or you're in Claude. Treat your AI like an intern. You're gonna teach the AI what you want it to do. So you have to give it these prompts. Here's one example. You are a copywriter, etc. All right, the job that needs to be done. You are a marketing specialist. Your biggest talent is, what qualities do you want to have AI in the back of their mind? What you want it to provide and what you will do. It's the task. Okay, so you're gonna give it a background of the type, the framework of the information that you want to come out of AI. This might be a better example. So you can train AI on what your branding is. What's your brand message? Okay. I want you to create, this is in ChatGPT, a style guide. All right. My target audience is, you tell them exactly what we were talking about in marketing strategy and plan. My tone and voice is what? Authoritative, friendly, humorous, casual, formal, etc. My brand positioning is, what sets you apart? Fresh flowers grown locally, or whatever it is. My brand message. So all that homework that we did up front with our brand strategy and plan, you plug into AI so that they can more intelligently produce something for you that matches what your brand is. People, and you can give them examples. You can upload examples of posts that you've already made. you know, maybe you've written some articles or a newsletter, you know, here's what my newsletter looks like. And from that, they will create content for you, because if you keep the thread open, like in Chat GPT, it will continue to learn from that thread. All right. I was gonna go ahead and do, but this is I don't have my computer here, but I would encourage you to go online and just see what it produces. It is amazing. Like, I've used it with, you know, sometimes we're looking at what does a basic business plan look like for an X type business? It will generate a business plan, but from that, I'm gonna tailor it to my specific business, you know, who are the major principles in the business? What's our marketplace? AI is not gonna tell you who your competitors are in the marketplace or anything like that. But if you're struggling with what's the bare bones of a business plan or a marketing plan or a blog or a post, you know, give me 5 posts for the springtime for a flower market. And then you can tailor from there. So at least it gives you a starting point of, okay, it gives you a starting point of where you can go from there. Because sometimes the hardest part of marketing is, where do you start, right? So this gives you some suggestions. So I've used it with SBDC for, like, I had to write a piece for our annual report. And I thought, okay, where do I start? So I say, I am a business advisor for the SBDC and I cover these counties. Give me some suggestions for what I should write in an annual report. And it gave me something, and I didn't use any of it, but it started generating an idea of, all right, now I know what I'm gonna write in this thing. So you may discard what AI gives you completely.
Like a virtual template as opposed to like,
Yeah. So a lot of people use it for Facebook posts. It's great for that. If you say, I have an event, but this is the date, this is the time, this is the place, this is what we're doing, just help me make it engaging. The biggest thing is going to be what your prompt is. So you want to make sure that what you're telling it to do is detailed enough that it will be able to do what you're doing. Because it won't understand it if you're not specific enough.
It even put flowers in.
Yeah.
All right, in conclusion, marketing, it changes with time. You know, it's gonna, for example, people who were in-person marketers and the pandemic came, they became online marketers, right? So you have to be able to pivot. Your whole business has to be able to pivot with changes. Test and measure different methods, you know? And if something's working well, then you know that's kind of where your audience is. And, you know, dedicate time and money to your effort, because marketing does take both. One tool that never goes out of style is thank your customers. I would highly recommend for customers that are buying a product or a service to send a thank you note
Okay.
in the mail, because that's really unusual these days to get a thank you from a business. Costs you
I
what?
love that.
Maybe 50, 75 cents for the card and the stamp. Stamps are expensive.
I know, as much as the card is now.
But honestly, I sell on Etsy and I got a response one day, a public response that said, oh my gosh, she sent me a handwritten note with my order. Showed a picture of my note there on Etsy. I was like, oh, okay. But, you know, that's something that people appreciate. They just want some kind of connection with who they're buying from. And so that's, I would highly,
I love that with Etsy vendors, when I buy something off Etsy and they write me a note, I love that.
yeah.
So yeah, I like that idea.
So there's the Culpeper County, be at culpeperlocal.com if you need that. And then our website is right there too. So that's it.
It was amazing.
It was very long.
That's all right.
I know, I'm sorry, I know we're over time. Can I ask one last question about
Yeah.
the marketing plan? In the marketing plan, do you have to compare it to previous years? And if you do, how do you go about doing that.
You do, if you're presenting to a board, you do want to show year-on-year
Okay.
changes.
Like, do you just have like a separate sheet that has comparison, or do you just implement it in every state? Like, I don't know how, because I think that's the only part I'm struggling with. Like, I don't know how to compare.
Usually, so if you're doing a presentation, or maybe you've got like a booklet that you're showing them,
Yeah, like,
you have like, okay, here's where we were last year. Here are the results that we produced. And here's our plan going forward. So I wouldn't compare it, for each individual tool that you used or techniques that you implemented. But and especially if you're making a big change, you can say, here's where we were last in 2024. Going forward in 2025, here are the new things that we're using, and here's why. And you can say these things didn't work, or they worked, but they need to be beefed up. So I would just have like 1 or 2 pages or slides or paragraphs. I'm not sure how you're presenting the data. Here's where we were, but you really want all of that information to be forward focused. Because often they're deciding budgets and things like that for the future, so they don't want to dwell so much on the past, other than to see what were the results of what they spent previously. Thank you. You're welcome. Any other questions?
A lot of information.
I know, it's a lot, can be very overwhelming, so if you have questions, just let me know. I'm happy to.
I did have a question about the regions, because like I called, I believe it was the Supply Diversity, I don't think it was Development Center. I called the Supply Diversity region and to get help with the SWAM, just because I was getting almost all my information before, like I put it in and hit the click button, and stuff. And like they gave me one name, and then a month later, I never heard, I was emailing, calling, and then they gave me another name, and then they just gave me another one. So what is the difference between the Development Center and Supplier Diversity?
So the
Right.
Supplier Diversity, SBSD, is a state office.
Okay.
We are a nonprofit. So we're partially funded by the Small Business Administration,
Okay, I saw
but
this,
most
yeah,
of our
alright.
funding comes from the counties.
Okay.
And other, nice people that donate to us.
And your economic development offices are gonna be your local government
Yes.
offices. So you'll have, for instance, an economic development in Madison, economic development in Orange, economic development in Green.
And they do have a SWAM person at SBSD. His name is Raman Gohar. We have a.
Who she
What's the
gave
name?
me.
Small women and minority owned businesses.
Yeah.
What, but I could put that on my profile,
It-
like,
The only, the reason you would want to become SWAM certified is if you want to do government contracting.
okay.
We have Linda Tuberty is our business advisor that will work with you to get SWAM certified. You and I had a short conversation at the beginning of this, but she's gonna be here on the 10th of
Okay.
March.
All right.
But if you want to meet with her one-on-one, then you would want to go to our website and put in your name and register. And then Linda will work with you.
Okay, then, you said like, I see, like Shenandoah Valley,
Mhm.
Shenandoah, they had some webinars and such and
Uh-huh.
stuff. And is it like, when I go to the sbdc.org and then they have their listings,
Yeah.
is all the listings there, or had to go to each different region to see what they're offering also?
You can go to the Virginia SBDC,
And that will have all of them listed there at that one.
any webinars that are going on in the state.
Okay.
Yeah. And there are, like, I know Mary Washington does QuickBooks, some.
Yeah, I need to do that one. And I saw one for that, but then I can't find it. That's not.
Well, those in-person ones are expensive at Mary